Okay, we got waves, hellos, we got all right, lots of stuff going on. We're ready to go. I like this introduction music kind of concept. It's as I get things going. Just a few seconds of audio that's chill to get us going. Good morning and happy Tuesday. This is the first day back after 4 days away. It is, well, we're so many different things, but this is called Ask a Traffic Cop. My name is Sean Shapiro. I am the host with some answers to the questions that you have about traffic and police stuff. But this is the day before all the schools, or the rest of the schools, because some schools have gone back today, depending on where you are, in Ontario and elsewhere. But in Toronto, the Toronto District School Board goes back to school tomorrow. So lots going on. We're actually not going to have a live show here in the studio, regular Q&A. Tomorrow we'll be on location for a media event and doing stuff and things on the road. So very excited to have back to school action in the city. But that means a lot of things are going on, and your routine's different, and we'll talk about that. Different things for school buses to know about. Not that it makes a big difference, because it's pretty much the same thing with a different color. Well, we'll get into it. We have Vision Zero announcements, which are actually really just giving you updates as to where we is today. Vision Zero enforcement team, of course, is a group of officers that go out and target different areas of the city. They focus on different areas based on information provided by analysts, and they go out and they what do they do? Well, they try and change driver behavior one ticket at a time. If you don't break the law, you never meet them. If you want to meet them, well, just keep doing what you're doing if you're breaking the law. I'm not suggesting you are. Kayla Draconis, good morning. Greetings and salutations. And there's a question for Erin if she's around. We're starting the day off right. Erin may join us when she has a few moments. Erin, if you have a few moments, whenever you're ready, no pressure, no stress. Erin's in the area, so I'm just hollering out into the ether, and if she hears me, she'll come. Yeah, she's responding. But let's get back to Vision Zero enforcement team. Good thing I didn't put my take the lid off that. I would have been very, very watered. I knocked down the bottle. Okay, it's not very stable bottle. I crushed it. In a bad way. Okay, Vision Zero enforcement team, where are they today? Because they're in different communities every day. Today they are in 22 Division and 55 Division. And if that means nothing to you, well, you're not alone. Many people don't know what the divisional boundaries are, but they do know the neighborhoods in which they live. And those are the neighborhoods of Etobicoke West Mall, Queensway, the Beaches, Riverdale, Danforth, East York. Those are where real people live, and they also want real safe communities and roads. So these officers from Vision Zero enforcement team go out and try and make them safer. Now that's today. Tomorrow will be somewhere else, so tune in tomorrow to get that, or check us out on Traffic Services on Twitter. Of course, there's a lot of different places. You can actually go to our link tree. It's linked to, how do you say link? It's Linktree. If you didn't know, it's linktr.ee, and everyone who uses it knows. And it's Linktree/Traffic Services, and you can follow us everywhere. And every morning on Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter, we announce where the Vision Zero enforcement team is going to be. Yes. Okay, so going back to the, because we have Erin on a microphone now.
Hello.
So this is a Kayla who wants to know. He says, my wife wants to know if she can use a photocopy of an accessible parking permit so she has it in each of her cars, or their cars.
No.
Boy, this was an easy one.
Yeah, just to cut it real short and sweet. No, and you could actually be charged for that because it has to be the authentic copy, and you can move them around from car to car. So if you're not using one car, just take the permit and put it in your other car because it's assigned to an actual person, not a vehicle. So. It is
a big deal to take it in, take it out, especially if you're used to having it. It's easy to forget. It is a problem. But you got to travel with it. Whenever I go on vacation, I got to make sure you have it with you, and it's part of the planning process. Goes with my passport. But good question, and I don't think anyone's ever asked that question that way before. So, kudos to you. We have Nax Ors who says, good morning, good morning. Austinator says, hey, buddy, just renewed my sticker for my car. It was the 4th of, what is it? It was on the 4th of my birthday. Just have a question. Will I get pulled over because I was late? Well, if you haven't been pulled over now, but you have renewed it, you are no longer invalid, so there's no reason to give you a ticket today. Maybe your vehicle wasn't operated on the road, even though it was expired, and you've now corrected the issue. So now it's updated in our system, and I don't imagine you'll have any further issues. Or any issues in general. Big Jeff Fresh says, good day, and good day to you. Big Jeff Fresh is coming in by YouTube. Ostinator is coming in through Facebook. Nax was coming in through Twitch. You know what? We're on all the platforms. If you didn't know that we were broadcasting everywhere, now you do. We are on LinkedIn Live. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. We're on, of course, TikTok, and, well, what do they call it? Instagram. Yeah, that's what it's called. If you're watching anywhere, you can ask us questions. That's what we're here for. You simply use the Q&A function on Instagram Live. You can use the chat because, wait, I'm going to check. Is it? No, still not working. You can't use Q&A because it's broken on TikTok, but it works for some people on some lives, just not ours. And if you're on any other platform, you just put it in the chat. Except for Twitter. Twitter's broken. So you know where you can go? You can go to trafficcop.ca. On trafficcop.ca, you will get to a link tree. The link tree allows you to see all of our social media, and it'll allow you to also ask a question going to our Volley page. So before it went straight to Volley, now it goes to a link tree where you can click Ask Me a Question on Volley. And guess what? We have some questions from Michael. And of course, we're getting it on... let's see here. We have... actually, I'm going to have to play these, and I want to play them. Can I play them for you guys? I think I can. Let me go back here. Let me get my microphone set up, and then we'll go back, and we'll get a Michael question, because he had a bunch of them.
Hey, Sean, I just had this question stuck on my mind. So I recently went to Quebec, and as most people that went to Quebec or saw Quebec license plates, cars from Quebec that are registered in Quebec and have a Quebec license plate, they only have a license plate in the back and not in the front. And I know in Ontario it's in back and front. And this might be an obvious answer. I'm just trying to double check. Are cars in Ontario required to have both plates visible, or can they take the back or the front plate off?
A fantastic question from our friend Michael. The answer is, of course, in Ontario, you're issued two plates. You must display both. They must be displayed in accordance with the regulations. So the rear plate must be illuminated in the rear. It doesn't say whether it's in the center, left, or right, because different vehicles have different spots for them. You look at the Land Rovers, they sometimes up and to the one side, and others in the left. Regardless of where the vehicle is set up to host that plate, it should be there, and it has to be illuminated with a light bulb of at least 3 lumens of power. That's for, and it can only be white light. That's for the rear plate. Front plate has to be on the front of the vehicle, not behind the windshield, not anywhere else. Front of the vehicle in a conspicuous place that is legible.
Oh, you kicked your
okay,
your
but I didn't unplug on
charger.
Yes, got lots of stuff going on, and so that's the deal. You have to have both of them. If you take one of them off, you're in violation. The charges fail to display 2 plates. There's a number of responsibilities as a driver, as a vehicle operator in Ontario. That's one of them. But great question. You've got more questions, and we'll come back to your stuff in a bit. But let's see what else is going on. We've got other questions that are ready to go. What is this? Do charges when you were a novice driver get removed when you become a full driver? No. Charges when you were a novice driver remain on your record because your record remains current for 3 years. Now, your lifetime record is something that we'll see forever. As a police officer, as the MTO, we'll see that forever. As the insurance company or anybody else who has access, they'll only see your 3 years. And then it comes off. Points stay on for 2 years from the date of offense. Charges stay on for 3 years, or convictions stay on for 3 years from the date of conviction. What is this? You mentioned not being allowed to make modifications to motorcycle helmets. What about comm devices? If you are adding something to the shell itself, it's a problem. If you notice on most comm devices, they are on breakaway plates. They stick in. There's a plastic shim that goes between the shell and the foam, and then it is on a breakaway. And those, as far as I can tell, don't cause any issues. It's affixing something to the outside of the helmet that is a problem. Something that is going to cause the helmet to catch on the ground and potentially cause more harm. The helmet itself at that point becomes unsafe. So even putting stickers or duct tape or mohawks, things of that nature, if it's not designed to break away, and the question is whether or not, even if you had Velcro, for instance, and they say, well, the mohawk will come off. The Velcro itself is changing the way that the helmet will glide or not glide on the helmet on the surface of the road in the event that you have impact. So don't change the helmet. Don't do anything to the shell. Okay. Okay, my beginners expired 5 days ago. Do I need to retest again? So I don't know what beginners you have. I don't know what province you're in. If you have a G1, an M1, either of those two, and on its face it's expired, well, it's not expired in Ontario. You're extended until December 31st of this year. So G1, G1, G2, M1, M2, they're all good till the end of this year. If you miss the boat and you don't actually pass at that point, you would have to retest for whatever level you're at. If you had a G1 that expired, you have to do another G1 test. If it's your G2, you have to do another G2 test because they don't just renew them for money. That's what you do when you get your G or your M. What is this? I was on TikTok, but there's too many people watching this, so it's where I get my questions asked. Austinator giving us the heads up as to how he's getting front of the line access when there's 500 people in the room on TikTok. If you're new to the channel, my name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police officer with the Toronto Police Service here in Ontario, Canada. I am on social media so I can help you. Yes, this is a show all about you. It's called Ask a Traffic Cop. I answer your questions. It is a busy place, and I appreciate that not everyone's questions are going to get answered, but we do our best. You can certainly join us on trafficcop.ca. Use the Volley link to jump into our community space, and you can join the 100. Oh, we have 100 people now. There, you can make it, 500 people. In any case, we're all about you. We do this every day, except on the days that we don't, which this week will be a few of them. Tomorrow, we're going to be on scene, on site, on location. We're going to be filming on location for the launch of Back to School. So it's a press conference. We're going to have interviews. A bunch of notable figures from the community are going to be speaking. And then we're going to go talk to some media outlets and we'll be on the news. But we won't be able to be here with you. So my apologies in advance. We won't be here. I'm also unable to be here on Thursday. So today's show and Friday's show are the only two shows. If you have questions in between that, make sure you join our Volley space. It is an amazing app that allows you to send me video, voice, or text to ask your questions, and I can answer directly there. If we're not on a live show, because if we're on a live show, we'll just answer you here. But yeah, we can communicate. It's amazing technology. All right. We have a question. Is it true that G2 drivers can only have one other teen in the car for 6 months unless family? What's the penalty? So there are conditions on a G2 license. There are conditions on learner's permits in general. Actually, as a novice driver, there's still conditions even when you have your G. But specific to your question of G2, for the first 6 months, you can have only one person in your vehicle that is under the age of 20, so 19 and under, between the hours of 12 a.m. and 5 a.m. Now, if they're family members, they're exempt from that. You could have a busload of people. Well, not busload because you need a bus license, but you could have people and you could have as many people in the seats that have seatbelts as legally permitted in your vehicle, assuming they're all family. If they're not family, you can have one person under the age of 20. Now, when you are in the second 6 month chapter of your G2, you can have up to 3 people under the age of 20 for the second 6 months. And what is the violation? Well, it's a violation of conditions. I think it's $110. And whether or not that would trigger a 30-day suspension, I'll have to look for you because now I want to know. See, I don't remember everything. I remember as much as I can cram into my noggin as possible. But when new things come in, old things fall out. That's just what happens. Okay, let's go here. G2. So we have here, G2, 6 months or more excess. It's $110. I was right. But I don't know if that triggers a 30-day suspension. Most learners' conditions trigger a suspension for 30 days on the first conviction. But I don't see any notification here. It may or may not. I don't know. I'll have to do some digging. We have, can an e-bike be on a highway? Well, highway is this funny term that nobody seems to understand. Highway is any road in Ontario. It's called the Highway Traffic Act. That doesn't mean 401 is a highway. That's an expressway. So highway is any road, and yes, an e-bike that conforms to the rules set forth by the province as to what is legal on the road, an e-bike can be there. See, an e-bike, against most popular belief, is a motor vehicle. Now, legislation allows it to operate as a bicycle or be considered a bicycle if it conforms. That means it cannot go more than 32 kilometers an hour on a flat surface, can have no larger a motor than 500 watts, cannot weigh more than 120 kilos, and of course, the operator and any passenger has to be at least 16 and wear a helmet. So can it be on a highway? Yeah. Young Street's a highway and it can be on there. Any street again. If it violates any one of those rules, it's a motor vehicle again. It's not given the legislation benefit of being an e-bike, and you need license, ownership, and insurance, which you can't actually get for an e-bike. So it makes it a prohibited vehicle. Okay, or an uninsured vehicle, which means you get a ticket that could lead to, from, fans. I've got a delivery here. This is exciting. I'm interrupting the answering
Oh
and
my
questions.
gosh, that scared me. No, I was just looking
Wow.
down and just came from my peripheral.
Yes,
Someone's
so
sneaking in.
I have received my my one chip challenge chip. So that's something that's going to happen today.
Do it now on live.
No, I'm not
kidding.
doing it live. I must prepare. Are you around later to?
I am around later. I do have one in my glove box in the truck, so
Oh yeah, you're going to have one too.
I might do it.
Oh, let's do it.
Okay.
Okay, so after the live, we are going to eat chips, and that's going to be interesting. And I have someone to do it on screen with. That's right. Well, not do it, but eat the chip. Okay, we are going to going to keep going. So back to the e-bike thing. E-bikes cannot be on expressways. Now, there is a difference between an electric motorcycle and an e-bike. An electric motorcycle is acknowledged that it's electric power like a Tesla, but it does not conform to e-bike regulations. It's a true motor vehicle, and it's licensed for the road. So I hope that I have exhausted the answer to that question in every way, shape, and form. And I apologize for the one chip challenge interruption, but I'm actually very excited. I forgot all about these. I posted it when I got word that they were coming, and I forgot that they were, yeah. Okay. If you renewed your sticker for 2 years, will I have to do it after 1 because of no rules? No. If you renewed under the previous system, you're good until that expiry, and then under the new system, when you renew, you can renew for 1 or 2 years. So you can continue. I don't know what just happened. Someone scored a goal.
It sounded like it.
I'm not aware of anything happening here, but
home on a Sunday watching Premier League.
in any case, yeah. So we that's the story. Is that the story? What were we talking about? That whole cheering through my train of thought altogether.
Were we talking about
1 or
e-bikes
2
before?
years? We were talking about 1 or 2 year renewals. Okay. Yeah, this is live. Being in a losing train of thought, also live. Okay, we have. Jacob says, good morning, Sean, and greetings from Kingston, Queen's University. Awesome. I when we met, you mentioned that you were going to school for, did you say criminology? I think you said criminology. In any case, happy first day back and enjoy. Fun stuff. School is fun. But yeah, the new rules don't make you do it every year. It's 2 years too. Just make sure you don't forget. And you can go to the MTO site. You can you can sign up for reminders. You can sign up for email, text, voice calls, sign up for your driver's license, your license plate reminder, and even your health card. So if you haven't done that, do that. That's a really good way to go. Okay. What would happen if I'm 15 and get caught on the road with no motorcycle license, theoretically, asking for a friend? You're unlicensed. You get a $300+ ticket for that. You're not, if you took the vehicle that belonged to you, that's a problem because you're not insured. You're not insured as an unlicensed driver, so that's a problem. You have a vehicle that's owned by somebody else. Well, if they gave it to you with permission and said, go enjoy, well, they're liable for a ticket under the Highway Traffic Act. If you took it from them without permission, keys were just there and you said, oh, let's go for a joyride, well, then you could be criminally charged for take vehicle without consent. At the end of the day, just remember that you're not covered under insurance. If you were involved in a collision, that vehicle would be written off and not replaced because the insurance company is going to deny you when you're not insured because you're not licensed. Okay. We have a question that I've ignored, apparently. Apologies for those who are waiting on Instagram. Can you show your insurance policy on your phone? If your insurance provider subscribes, gives you an app that allows you an electronic secure way of providing that, yes, a photocopy or a photo on your phone of your insurance does not meet the requirements under the Highway Traffic Act, or I should say the Compulsory Automobile Insurance Act, because that's where it actually covers the insurance side of things. Anyway, yeah, you can't just take a picture of your pink card and have it be. Now, some officers might say, you know what, I'll accept it. It's not meeting the legal requirements, but an officer can use discretion and say, okay, so it's great to have the information just in case, better than having nothing, but could you still get a ticket? Sure you could. Got another one here. Oh, here. Okay, this is an excellent question. We've covered this before recently. Stephen K. wants to know, can an officer send you to secondary in a ride program with no suspicion of influenced driving? So in Canada, we have something called mandatory alcohol screening. This is something new as of 2018. I think it was December 2018. But anyway, now, okay, let's talk about before. Before, when we pulled you over, we'd stick our face in, we'd smell for alcohol, we'd talk to you, and we'd either have the odor of an alcoholic beverage, or we would have suspicion or to provide suspicion that you have alcohol in your system, or you said I had one. Okay, one of those two things, and you're behind the wheel. Now we can pull you over and determine that, have you do a roadside screening device. Now with mandatory alcohol screening, which has been upheld in court, we can simply have you blow on a roadside screening device because you were stopped for a lawful reason, which includes ride programs or any other vehicle stop, at which point, without suspicion, we can have you blow because we could say that every vehicle we stop, we're going to have them blow. So it's not you look a certain way or act a certain way or smell a certain way, you're going to get tested. It's everyone's getting tested. But equally, I could say every fifth car I'm going to pull over. It depends on the officer. It depends on the plan that's put forth before the ride program setup. In any case, this is being used throughout the world. Australia was big. In Australia, every single person through our ride program provides a breath sample. And you know what? They catch a lot of people who are professional drinkers. They don't smell or they drink something that where you don't smell the alcohol, and they're so used to drinking and driving that they answer questions very smoothly. So this is a great way to take more impaired drivers off the road. But truly, there shouldn't be any on the road to be taken off the road. Catch what I'm saying? All right. So I hope that answers your question, which is yes, we can. Okay. Ryan Pinn says, yo ho ho and a bottle of rum. I don't know if that's a Nova Scotian thing or if it's just the way he wishes to greet us this morning. But hey, Ryan, hope you're doing well. I was thinking about you this weekend. I was talking about driving school stuff. We got more. I have what is this? I have a valid insurance document, but I gave the wrongly expired and got a ticket. Why? Well, under the Highway Traffic Act, you're responsible for surrendering a valid document. If you gave the wrong one, you gave the wrong one. So you surrendered one that wasn't valid. You'd get a ticket for that because you have to surrender a valid one. If you had it somewhere else and you found it later, well, mistakes happen. You could take it to court and explain that, and they may or may not do something for you. But at the end of the day, you're responsible for surrendering a valid one, and you committed the offense by having that. Get rid of your old documents. Why would you carry expired ones? When you have the new one, carry the new one. Things are moving.
I think it's me. Sorry, I have to step out.
That's okay. Do your thing. Let me look here before we do that.
I was driving from Toronto to Mississauga.
Okay, we got another question from Michael. Let's put Michael on the air. Michael's voicemail.
Another question for you, Sean. I was traveling from Toronto to Mississauga, and I live in Mississauga. But once we got to the 401 by entering Toronto so when we entered Toronto, the traffic started, and it was like past midnight, and there was construction on the 401. And all lanes were closed except 2 or 3 lanes on the express lane. And it was a huge traffic, and it was hours and hours of traffic. And it actually took us 2.5 hours to just get from Toronto to Mississauga via 401. And I was wondering, because this exactly happened to us and we had to call a tow truck. The traffic was so much that it just burned all the gas and the gas finished. And I was wondering, in situations like that, if your gas is about to finish, are you allowed to go on the shoulder of the highway and drive through to the nearest exit to go to the gas station?
The answer is no. So the question was, and I'll rephrase because it went on for a little bit. They were on the highway. There was restrictions due to traffic control for construction, down to 2 lanes, nowhere fast did they get. And they ran out of gas on the highway. They had to call a tow truck. No, you're not allowed to drive in construction zones or shoulders to go to the nearest gas station when you figure out that you didn't plan for the drive. You are responsible as a driver, and you're stuck. You're stuck. You got to call for a tow or call for gas or what have you because you can't drive on the shoulder. That would be an offense unto itself. There'd be no excuse for that. You'd get charged if you were caught, of course. The best plan. That's the best plan. Fill up before. And I appreciate you couldn't forecast the fact that the entire highway was going to be shut down, or use an app like Google Maps or Waze, or they will tell you that there's major delays, so you can plan accordingly. And that must have been horrible and expensive with a tow truck, because that's not cheap. What is this? Okay, let me come back to, if I live in my camper and when I'm parked for the night, am I allowed to drink alcohol? It depends if your camper is considered an RV with a toilet and so on. There's going to be a difference between a truck that has a bed in it and a true camper that has facilities and whatnot. If it's an RV, if it's considered an RV, and not just because you call it an RV, then you can, because that's one of the only vehicles that sort of changes into a temporary residence when you stop. Actually, not just sort of, it does change into, it's considered a temporary residence. So if you have an RV, you can consume alcohol in it when it's parked and you're not going anywhere. Whereas if you have a vehicle that you just happen to fold down the seats and sleep in, you're not covered. It's not an RV. So I hope that's clear as mud. Boom, boom, boom. Do tickets stay on your... Do withdrawn tickets stay on your lifetime record? Withdrawn tickets are withdrawn. They never see a record. So you have charges. Charges go before a court. If the court withdraws them, then they're not a conviction. They don't exist on your record. They're not there at all. If you're convicted, they're there. So, yeah, this is all. So charges are maybe. Withdrawn means it never happened. And convictions are actually, they happened. I think that works. Okay. Traffic charges you get before you even get a license stay on your driving record. Yes, Ryan, you're absolutely correct. I can see everything that's associated to you. So if you are 10 years old in a car and you get charged for driving or not wearing your seatbelt, you would be charged. Well, 10 years old, the driver would be charged. So 16 years old, because then you'd be charged. The MTO will actually generate a license number for you, and that's your license number for life. So anything you do. Jacob says he's watching from his dorm room. Very cool. Yes, tell everybody in the dorm room or in the dorm that they need to watch. We can have all this, school. I wonder, we've never done a university version of this where people specifically in class, or not in class, that would be bad, but at school asking questions, because learning stuff in a house of learning could be cool. Let's see here. Kayla Dracona says, so a helmet cover that isn't attached to the sides is okay. Of course, the wind might take it off the faster you ride the parade speed. So helmet covers are, aside from being affixed, if you put like the fuzzy, furry helmet cover, they look cool. They're not legal. I don't think it matters whether or not it's affixed. The fact is, when you hit the ground, you could break your neck. It would be a bad day at the office. What happened to the blue license plate? Can we still get that? No, I believe they're no longer issuing them, and I don't know if they're going to do a recall, but they may life cycle them at one point and pull them back in, or they may just, disappear, disintegrate. I don't know. Are they made better than the other ones? They certainly don't. They're not visible or legible at night, but I do like the way they look. The Kleenex box, Q-tip box. That's what it is. Okay. If you drive without a license or insurance, what would happen? Okay. Driving without a license, it's a few hundred, $300 and something fine, I believe. And you get charged, and then you go to, you either pay or you go to court, whatever the case may be. But that's one thing. The no insurance is an entirely different situation. If the vehicle is not insured, the owner is going to get charged for permit or drive motor vehicle without insurance, and that has fines that range from from $5,000 to $25,000 and up to 6 months in jail. And they can either do either or both, and that's for the first conviction. If you continuously do that, of course, the fines go up. Okay. We covered that. Oh, please address why you're on TikTok. A lot of people who have issues with a cop being on TikTok. Well, let's talk about it. I was not always a TikTok traffic cop. I was once upon a time a road officer. I was divisional. I was a divisional PRU before I came to traffic, and then I went to the divisional traffic where I would respond to collisions. Then I went to the motor squad, which is where I was when I had a collision on duty. I was hit by a car. It took me off the road. I'm still suffering from injuries sustained in that collision. And while I was on, and I still am on light duties or accommodated work, which means I'm doing other things to still contribute and do stuff. As a police officer, that could be a lot of different things. And I started off doing many of those other things. I worked in different areas, worked in the chief's office, worked, or at least in another area associated with the chief's office, never actually in his office. That would be weird. And then I came back to traffic, and I was supporting the media relations officer. And I have skills and abilities that allow me to do stuff. So I was doing graphic design, and I was creating all sorts of educational content to go out on Twitter and other static platforms. And then we discovered TikTok. And I started creating some content and repurposing content we made for other platforms. And lo and behold, they got a lot of traction. And then once upon a time, the sergeant said, why don't you try this? Try being on the camera. And I did. And the rest is history. I've been doing that ever since. I never planned on being the TikTok traffic cop. I never planned on being on camera at all. It just sort of happened by accident. Haha. Ba-dum-bum. And it's been great. It allows me to contribute to the community. It allows me to engage the community, which is something that really needs to be done because we used to do this in person. We would go to trade shows and bike shows and RV shows, and we'd have a booth saying, hey, got questions? We've got answers. And you'd have people, speak to us randomly. But never did we have 10,000 or 25. We've even had 40,000 people in a live session before. So we are speaking to more people now than ever before. It is the most economical way to distribute information because I'm speaking to, 260 people currently in the room. There were up to 500 people in the room earlier. People come, people go, ask their question, take off. Some people come every day and spend an hour with us. Some people come in for 5 minutes. Whatever the case is, if you're getting something out of it, we're doing something effective. We've measured this. We've done surveys. We've had all sorts of input and feedback. And everything points to this is awesome. So I thank you for your interest in why I'm doing it. And just to be clear, I am a media relations officer and a media officer authorized to be on the platform talking to you. It's actually part of my job description now, sort of. It doesn't actually say shall go on TikTok, but it is part of what I do. And we're not only doing it, we had the chief come on the channel. He'll be on again in September. He hasn't been on September yet, right? No, that's too early. He was last 2 months. He's come on for some Q&A, talk about stuff and things. We're doing a podcast now. We've got people from. Why are they calling me? Decline. I don't know if you heard that, but it was really loud in my ears. How do you make the phone system not ring on the computer? That's what I want to know. In any case, I think I've answered the heck out of that. What is this? Okay. How do police prove distracted driving? We look at you, and if you're on your phone or not paying attention, we write it down what we see, but we lay the charge and we write it down. See, we make observations as police officers, and then we describe those observations in court, and that's our evidence. That's our firsthand account of what we saw. It's no different than if we saw someone, punch someone in the face. We see them do it. How do we prove it was them? Well, we saw them do it, right? So it's not a matter of we don't need DNA to confirm that you were using, your device. Just holding it in your hand is enough to get a conviction for use because you're not allowed to drive with your phone in your hand. That's how we prove it. We go and speak to the court, and we tell them, well, office, your worship, this day at this time, I was doing this thing on this street, and I came upon this car. You wouldn't believe it, your worship. There was a driver, and they had their phone in their hand. They were supposed to be operating that multi-thousand-pound vehicle safely to ensure the safety of everyone around, but instead, they were using their phone. And how did I know that? Well, I know what a phone looks like, and I saw them actively using it on a lit screen, maneuvering. They were playing Space Invaders. Whatever I saw, I would tell the court. Now, you would have the opportunity to say, well, that wasn't me playing Space Invaders. That was my cousin Nick. Whatever the case may be, you tell your story, I tell mine. The trier of fact makes a determination. That is beyond us. After we give our evidence, it's up to them to determine whether or not what they want to do to proceed, and they'll either convict or not. Let's see here. Have you ever had someone migrate from the USA to become a police officer? Many, many, many people have come here from all over the world to become police officers. You don't have to be a citizen here. You have to be a legal resident, but you have to be a permanent resident. So if you have your PR card, you're eligible to be a police officer in Canada, which is different because if you go to the United States, a majority of states require citizenship before you can actually be a police officer. Some places no, but not. Somebody says corruption. They say corruption if you can. It's not corruption. Oh, also we have body cams. Going back to the whole the cell phones, because I love it when people say corruption. What does corruption got to do with making observations of you breaking the law? It's not corrupt to have you caught. You shouldn't be doing what you got. That you shouldn't be doing what you did to get caught. Then you wouldn't. Anyway, everyone's upset when they get a ticket. What can I say? All right. Please don't spam. Apparently, there's a lot of spam. I don't see the spam, but for those who are spamming, please stop it. It's not nice to the other people in here. To other viewers, not me. I don't see it. I don't care. I mean, I care about the people who are being abused by your spam, so please stop abusing them. Please. You can go spam somebody else. Don't spam here. We have important stuff to talk about. People want to know stuff. Do you have any IT field positions available? Where do I look for them? Let's talk about employment. I like that. Do I have a sound effect for employment? Well, I'll go with it. The deal with employment is that we are hiring all sorts of positions. There are some IT positions. I was just looking for a friend of mine who is from another industry, was looking for a civilian job. So I know there is at least one IT related, I think it's a tech support job, unless it closed today, but yesterday it was there. So tech support, and then there was something else for information systems of some kind. Those were the two civilian jobs that were opening. But you know what? You check back every time, all the time, changes constantly. New postings open, old postings close. You want to be a police officer, we're hiring. I believe we also have uniform positions for parking enforcement, special constable. Lots of opportunity here. www.tps.ca/careers will take you right to the page you need to be in to get all the information you could possibly want. And somebody asked me, I saw, do I know anything about what's going on in Saskatoon? Is it Saskatoon or Saskatchewan in general that you were asking about? You said Sask. You mean Saskatchewan. I've seen what you've seen in the media. I haven't seen anything else. I am going to Saskatchewan this month, and it's scary stuff. That is very scary stuff. But at the same time, our hearts go out to the people, the victims, and the families that are affected, the communities that are affected. Any kind of violent crime, any kind of traffic, anything where people are getting hurt and killed, it affects huge communities, groups. It's affecting the entire country that are reading about it. So, yeah, if you're out there, be safe. Because I believe there's one person that's still outstanding. I don't know anything more than what I heard on the radio this morning. All right. Can I use my hazards on a 400 series highway if the traffic ahead slows down dramatically? We suggest brake lights. The hazards to warn people, everyone needs to pay attention. Hazards are confusing. Why? Because a hazard is for a non-moving target or hazard pulled over to the side of the road. I know that's flashing suggests it's not moving at all, not slowing down. It is not what it's intended for. Hazard lights, when you pull over and your vehicle is not in motion, throw your hazard lights on, that's what it's for. Many, many people misuse these. It's raining, let's turn on the hazards. I saw a canoe in the wrong place, let's put it's not for that. So please use it appropriately. It's not against the law, it confuses people. What is this? If you're taking back empties in the cab of your truck, is that an open container? If there's no alcohol in it, it's not an issue. Is it confusing? Like, listen, if you've got a box of empties and it makes sense, I don't think it's an issue. Could it be that you just consumed one? Yeah, it's possible. I would not want to travel with empties right next to me. If you've got a pickup truck, put it in the back. If you've got a SUV, put it in the back. If you've got a car, put it in the trunk. Why even bother with a risk? But everything depends. Maybe somebody got smart and said, I'm going to bring back, 23 empties and one that I'm, is the road pop for the weight. That's not cool. So it's all going to be based on the officer's observations. What do we have here? Does Canada have any highway with safety agreements with the U.S. for suspending licenses and offenses? So every province is going to have reciprocal agreements with their neighboring states. I say every will, shall. I know that we have that. We have New York and Michigan, I think, are the two for Ontario. But the truth is that with today's day and age, it's not something that is difficult to communicate. And I would expect that any state is going to send back information to Ontario. And if you're suspended there, you're going to be suspended here because we honor the suspensions everywhere else. If you're suspended somewhere else, you're suspended here. And from my understanding, it's going to be the same everywhere. We don't want you on the road if you shouldn't be driving. So don't drive if you're suspended. In fact, there's a special charge driving on a license from another jurisdiction when you're suspended in Ontario. That's one, and simply driving suspended. There's a whole bunch of different things around there. Don't do it. There's a reason you were suspended. Don't break those. It's additional charges when you do. After-school program claims their passenger van is exempt from booster seat requirements. After-school program, so buses Buses are, for the most part, if it's truly a bus, if it's a school bus. I don't know what the after-school program is, so I couldn't comment on it. But buses and cabs, taxi cabs, are exempt. But I don't know if their bus or their van is considered a bus or not. Generally speaking, they are not. So you need to find out a little bit more to substantiate their claim. And boosters and whatnot, I don't listen. I have such mixed feelings about school buses because they're something you need to do, but with really small kids, it makes me nervous. Okay, can a Canadian peace officer carry a firearm off duty, or is the possession of a firearm restricted at all concealing? So, police officers. Not peace officer, but police officers are police officers 24/7. I can't speak to the so many different peace officers. Like a mayor is a peace officer, right? Depending, a summons server has a status of peace officer when engaged in the duties that they're performing. So police officer 24/7, they're a police officer, and then it wouldn't be. They can carry off duty, but there's regulations or restrictions imposed by their police service. So then they have to follow those. So it's a more complicated question than that. But technically speaking, can I carry? I'm a police officer. I can carry. As long as I'm authorized by my service to carry. What do we have here? Is a digital copy of insurance card valid in Canada? So digital copy of insurance provided by the insurance provider in an encrypted insurance system app, whatever, that's perfectly legitimate. Most, or not all, I should say, not all insurance companies provide an electronic copy. So mine does not. I have to carry my little piece of paper and it's tucked in my wallet. That's it. But if your company provides an app, it's perfectly legal as of a few years ago. Is painted handicap on ground in apartment building legal to park without handicap sticker? If you're trying to figure out ways to park in a parking spot that is being reserved, whether properly or improperly, done, then don't, because that's for someone who needs it, not you. If you have an accessible parking pass, use it, regardless of whether it has the appropriate. Like, the idea is to help people who need it. Why would you want to find out if you could use that when you're not entitled to it? I don't understand. I mean, I do understand. You want to park there, but it's not cool. You know what? We would counsel, if we were called, we would counsel them how to put the appropriate placard up so that we could charge appropriately. But just be a good human and don't take away people who need that accessible access. Sean Chen, hi. Oh, we got to talk, Sean. We'll talk after the show. I got to talk. Yes. Okay. What is this? If I want to become a police officer, should I begin reading the law, or is it taught? We're a one-stop shop here. It's good to have information and have a base knowledge, because legalese is not fun when you're new to it. But when you are hired as a police officer, you're not expected to be a police officer, and you are sent to the Ontario Police College after spending time at the Toronto Police College or whatever police service you join. And they will teach you everything you need to know as a basic constable process. Is it good to have more information? More is good. But coming to a process believing you know more than you actually do, or having been taught something that is not accurate, maybe wait until you actually get taught by the pros, or at very least people who are employed to do what they're doing. Having a small dog on your lap while driving is illegal, right? Drives me up the wall seeing it. Yes. Careless driving or drive while crowded are both options for that activity. Why do you need your dog on your lap? It's not safe for you. It's a distraction, and it's not safe for the dog. So if you love your dog, don't squish it between you and a steering wheel, because that's what's going to happen if you get into a collision. Airbag explodes at 200 miles per hour. Bad things happen. Parts of dog become parts of you. Very messy. And being serious, it's just bad. It's just bad. Your dog should be crated or tethered in the back seat. One of the two, or both if you can figure out how to do both. Okay. What is the fine for not moving over for a tow truck or other emergency vehicle? I think it's $490 and 6 demerit points. Let's see here. Emergency. Let's do a search. Failed to move into other lane for emergency vehicle or tow truck, $490 and 3 demerit points. I thought it was 6. We should make it 6. Let's change it. In any case, it's serious. Don't do it. we're working out there. We have to be safe out there, and that safety is very reliant on you doing the right thing. Slow down and move over. Not just move over and buzz the tower. Move a full lane over. Give us that space to be safe, because that's our office. That's where we're out there trying to help people. Tow truck operators trying to help people get off the road. If people are upset, well, it's traffic. Well, yeah, the sooner they get to do their job safely, the sooner they clear the obstruction and traffic regains and everyone's happy. But when everyone's so busy being more important than everybody else, it causes problems. We have a big problem with that self-importance business. Okay, I have a question. Why isn't it illegal for car dealerships to put license plate holders on a new car? Well, it's against the law for you as the driver to operate a vehicle on the road with a plate obscured or obstructed. It is not against the law for someone to apply something to a plate when they put it on. And they can claim ignorance or whatever they want. Most of them don't even know that's an issue. They're trying to get their free advertising out. They even think they're making it look cool. I don't know if they think it's look cool. But anyway, whatever they're doing, they're not breaking the law because they're not the one driving it. If they drove your car onto the street, they'd be responsible for driving with that plate cover. Is it something that we're focused on doing? Do we wake up every morning and go, I'm going to get a whole bunch of license plate frames that say the dealership name on it off the road today? No. It is a big problem some of the time. But more often than not, we're focused on speeding, aggressive driving, distracted driving, and impaired driving. The stuff that leads to serious injury and death on our roads. That's what we are out there doing. If we happen to pull someone over for speeding and they have that, well, we get 2 and 1. If we see you and we pull you over and you're doing nothing else wrong, you're probably going to get a warning saying, take it off. And then you have the ability to avoid it. But it all depends on the officer and all depends on the situation. More often than not, people have been driving for 30 years with a license plate frame and it hasn't been an issue. So it's against the law, but it's not the focus of what we do. All right. Oh, Kevin wants me to says, can you see if you can invite Carrie Schmidt, Sergeant Media Relations Highway? So I know Carrie. We hang out, at events. He's never been to my house. But no, last time I saw Carrie, we were at the whatchamacallit, Honda Indy together. But he's on the road running around. I'm in the studio, not running around, sitting around. So we've talked about it, and I'm sure he will eventually do it. We've had many discussions about having him on the show, having him on the podcast, and I'm sure we will do that eventually. Can I drive someone else's car, example, my husband's, with his approval, if not under his insurance? From a police perspective, there's nothing wrong with that. If you are a licensed driver legally operating a vehicle that you are qualified to operate, i.e. a vehicle that only requires a G license, and you have a G license, obviously if you have an M license, you can't operate a G-class license unless supervised. Did anyone know that if you have an M class, a full M, you have G1 privileges while being supervised? Truth. But the deal is that the insurance companies usually state that you must, if you live that all drivers that are in the house, if you live in the same house, must be on the policy. And that's their rule, not a legal thing. It's their rule thing. And if you are caught violating it, they may choose to deny your claim in the event of a collision. So you're playing with fire to save a few $100s, because really a secondary driver on a vehicle, it's not big money. And I appreciate money is tight, but it's not worth taking a risk of, you have a $40,000 car, a $10,000 car, you write it off and they say, I'm sorry, you violated the rules. You weren't insured, so we're not covering you. Not worth the risk. I wonder if they pay him just to do this. I'm a police officer. I do a lot of different things. I speak I'm going to Saskatchewan to speak on behalf of the service. I'm going to be doing something else in Ottawa. I'm an educator, traffic educator. I talk about traffic safety, traffic law, and police stuff on TikTok and other social media platforms. That's not all that I do. We're involved with training and safety and media relations and lots of stuff. But yes, I do get paid this, and this is one of the things I'm expected to do. Now that we have a thing that we do this. Before, no one expected anyone to go on TikTok because what was TikTok? But now it's a thing. And where are we at? 595,520 followers. Wow. Live count, yes. If you are not a follower, please follow us because we do this on most days. This week, however, we're only doing it today and Friday, so get as much as you can get out of this day, but you can get us in between shows. You can get us by going to trafficcop.ca. That will bring you to a link tree. The link tree will give you an opportunity to press a button that says Ask Us a question on Volley. Volley is an app. It's an awesome app. They just went through a big update. You can send me video, voice, or text. You can send me attachments, pictures, and people are doing that. Michael keeps sending me questions. Oh, there's a bunch of questions here. They're from Michael. Hang on. And Dr. Nick. Okay, what's this question? Hang on.
Hello, Sean, and good morning. I have a question. Do electric bikes, e-motorcycles, that goes less than 32 kilometers an hour and less than 500 watts, do they have to have the plate that says e-bike visible, or can they take that off?
Interesting questions. No one's ever asked me that before. Let me turn off this.
Hey, Sean, I have another question.
I know. You got lots of questions. Hang on a second. 1 second. All right. Yeah, rewind that. We'll get to your next question in a second. E-bikes don't require license plates. The ones that say emo bike, e-bike, those are for advertising and not required here. So yeah, they can take off their not license plate because that's not a government issued thing. It's just a piece of plastic that says e-bike, and usually it's of the manufacturer name to advertise their e-bike brand. Interesting question, never before asked. Again, we got all these first times. What do we got here? Scrolling to the bottom. Got a lot of people have a lot of opinions. If the highway tract isn't, they said Highway Traffic Act doesn't fall under criminal code, so it's not a real law. Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah. When you're in jail because you broke the law, that's Highway Traffic Act. You come back and tell me how it's not real. Let me see here. What do we got here? What is the new rule of the G test expiring? Like, what is this? So I've heard rumors, and I do not have this on an official letterhead, but I understand they might be making the changes permanent. I don't know for sure, but that's the rumor. So interesting. So they would basically not have you duplicate activities that took place while you got your G2, just to be more efficient. Honestly, I think we should have more strict driving tests. If you look at other countries, it is way more difficult to become a driver in Europe than it is here. And we have better drivers there than we do here, generally speaking. There are a lot of great drivers here. A lot of people who watch our show know lots of stuff. We also have a lot of bad drivers. And we see that because I think we're at 41 fatalities in the city of Toronto alone this year. There's way too much going on, way too many people dying on our streets. It's not acceptable. Not one life is an acceptable loss. Any death on our road is too many. And we have had 41 to the best of my recollection. Now, you put that in perspective, how many people have died through violent crime? Last I looked, it was like 43. Maybe we're at 45. That's neck and neck. That's really two numbers that are too close. People get really upset about violent crime. Ooh, somebody killed somebody else. Yeah, they knew each other. It was planned, or maybe it was random. But when you talk about traffic fatality, that's like as random as it gets. Somebody crossing the street who gets taken out by somebody who decided to make the roads unsafe through their activity by way of speeding, stunt driving, doing something. It's not okay. And that is to me way more serious than the other if you're competing. They're both serious because any life lost is wrong. But when you have someone who is just like going to work or school or to get a bag of milk, we can say bag of milk because we're in Ontario. Anyway, it really bothers me. What do we got here? Cop not using blinking lights for turns or changes. Can they do that? No, they have to signal. Police officers are not exempt from signaling. Why? And signaling helps everybody decide it's for safety. So if maybe their signals are broken, no, they're probably not. They're probably just being lazy, and that's not okay. If you're a police officer watching this, please use your signals. I don't know. I can't defend them. They're doing something wrong. If you were deferred from one, what is this? If you were deferred from one certain city, can you still apply and get in elsewhere in the meantime? I think you mean about applying to be a police officer. If you're turned down by a police service in Ontario, you're turned down, my understanding, from all police services for a year. I think because it's the OACP process. So if you're denied everywhere, as far as I know. But that could have changed, but when I applied, that was the thing. Usman wants to know, is there a chance Ontario will get rid of a front license plate? I don't know what the issue is with front license plates. I get that, if you've got a $300,000 car and it's got nice lines, they don't want license plates because they don't look cool. But they do provide a public service. I'll get to that in a second. When Doug Ford came into power as the premier, one of his first things he said was he's getting rid of the front license plate. And then he spoke to some people who know stuff, like the chiefs of police, and they came back and said, no, for public safety, we want to have twice as many chances, I'm paraphrasing, to see a vehicle. When we have Amber Alerts and kids are being taken, we want to have twice as many chances to identify that vehicle. And with the advent, this is new, we have automatic plate readers. We have enforcement equipment that goes out and takes pictures of license plates because we want to control people's driving, the dangerous driving, the stuff that needs enforcement. We need to be able to see and have twice as many opportunities to identify the vehicle. What happens if someone takes off from a collision scene? Well, aside from the fact that half the time they leave their front plate as evidence behind, which makes it a great investigative tool, we want the public to be able to see and identify vehicle. We want witnesses to have that opportunity too. So it is important. This is not about having a good-looking bumper. There are a lot of alternatives that are perfectly safe and look good, in my opinion. Tow hook adapters. If you don't want to put holes in your bumper because your precious bumper is more than I make in a year, great. Put a tow hook adapter in, or expect to pay a lot of money in fines and eventually be taken into court to explain to a justice of the peace why you are not willing to conform to the law. Maybe you shouldn't be driving. It's such a little thing, but anyway. Can you have more people in your car than seatbelts? No, you may not. You must have, everyone inside of a motor vehicle must be occupying a seat designed to carry a person. And if the vehicle was manufactured after seatbelts were legal, which is most of them these days, they have to have seatbelts. So you cannot put two people in one seatbelt. You cannot have everyone in a seatbelt and then an extra person sitting on someone's lap. That is not legal. That is a ticket for that person if they're 16 or older. If they're under 16, it's a ticket for the driver. How long is police college? Well, police education is forever. We are constantly taking courses and developing ourselves. If you're talking about how long is the actual OPC, I think it's 3 months. And we have pre and post OPC. It's about 6 months in general. And then you do 10 weeks of ride-along training as well. So there's a lot. And again, that's to be a fourth-class constable. Then you start a lifetime of learning, and we never stop. Never, never, never. I'm sure I have to take some online courses this week because I haven't done one. It feels like I'm missing something, and I need new training. No, it's constantly training. What do we got here? Why? What is this? Oh, okay. Good question. I'm dripping water. Why is the strip on the pants of police officers on municipal services red as opposed to RCMP yellow, parking blue, etc.? So provincial is blue. Federal is yellow, and red is municipal. And it's just a way of identifying at a glance. And I don't know why it started that way, but that is, so when I was a court officer and a parking officer, I was never a parking officer, but I was a court officer, and like court officers, parking officers also have a blue stripe. Those were originally functions not performed by municipal police, from my understanding. So that's a thing. And I've never had any pants that were yellow stripes, so I can't even make any. I don't know, but so the why. I'm gonna have to Google it, or maybe you Google it and come back and tell me, because I don't know where the yellow comes from. Maybe because their uniform is just, it started out. Would they have yellow lines on their surge? Thinking back here in all the old TV shows. What was that Mountie show? My wife liked that Mountie show. Some Little House on the Prairie kind of Mountie show. She liked it. We watched it. I don't watch it anymore. Okay. Usman says, I have no problems with front plates. Mostly people living in Ontario have a problem with them. I often go to British Columbia, and the people there absolutely love them. Love the front plates? Really? I think it makes sense. It's hard to justify getting rid of them. It's 11 o'clock, and normally I'd play a song and have fun, because I love this song. But we're not going to play it today. Instead, I ask you to join us for a moment of silence for the victims of those who lost their lives in Saskatchewan, because that's a thing. And it's worthy of acknowledging that it's a tragedy, and what little I can do is to spend a minute thinking about it, because we see far too much loss of life. So instead of the traffic song today, let's chill out and have a minute of silence. And then we'll be back on Friday. Thanks to everyone who joined us today. If you don't follow us, please do. And I'm going to stop talking now. That's over a minute, but not that we should be timing it down to the second, and that's why we went over. It's really such a simple thing, and it doesn't change anything. Just observing a moment of silence to think about what's going on in the world, what's going on there, and the people who are suffering because of the actions of a few people. Yeah, my heart goes out to those that are affected. All right, with that, we'll say goodbye again, and we will be back on Friday. Thank you again for spending time with us. If you've got questions that you come up with and you can't wait, well, you don't have to. Go to trafficcop.ca and you can join our volley space. And somebody did. So I'm going to go check out what they have to say, and I'm going to go respond to all those questions individually. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you soon. Friday.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5,